So, hello everyone. This is going to be a slightly different video than you've been seeing lately. It's a get to know me tag cosplayer edition. So I have 30? Yeah. I have 30 cosplay related questions that I scoured the internet for and kind of cultivated a really fun list that I wouldn't mind answering. My name is Stephanie, that's my real name, but in the cosplay community I go by Kyrie Cosplay or Cat, depending on how well you know me. That's a different video on like why I have those particular handles and nicknames, but not that's a video for another day. So today like I said, I have cultivated 30 questions across the internet about cosplay and things that I've done, and we're gonna just answer them today. So kind of like a little Q&A where I already have the Q and I'm gonna give you the A.
Not that kind of A.
Alright, question number 1. How did you discover cosplaying? Well, I discovered cosplaying back in 2001 when I went to MegaCon with my high school boyfriend. I was really big in competitive TCG playing, like tournaments, trading card games, and I was really huge into the Dragon Ball Z trading card game at the time. And there was having like a big regional tournament, state tournament. I can't remember what kind of tournament. It was like one of those big ones. And I went there with my boyfriend at the time and his friends, and I was playing, but in between rounds, like there was the rest of the convention, and I saw people dressed up as Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z characters, whatever else was like popular at the time. A lot of Clamp. I think Clamp was really big back in the early 2000s still. And so I was like, holy crap, you can cosplay? I didn't even know the name of what it was called. I didn't even know it was cosplay. And I was like, you can dress up? You can make costumes and wear them around here and it's okay? And people will take pictures of you? Whoa! I want to do that. And I didn't do that until 2004. Yeah. So I discovered cosplay in 2001 because of MegaCon, but I didn't actually join in the fun until like 3 years later when I decided to make my own costume. So that's question number 2 is, what was my first cosplay, or what was your first cosplay? My first cosplay was Miyaka from Fushigi, and it was bad. I barely knew how to sew. I didn't know anything about patterns. I knew nothing about fabric choices. And back then, finding wigs wasn't very easy. So I have like reddish mahogany colored hair anyways. So I used my own hair. I didn't have the bangs. I tied ribbons in it. And I bought like a dress shirt. And then the funniest thing is she has like the universe of the 4 gods. I took a regular notebook, like a college ruled notebook, glued or stapled like extra fabric around it and wrote universe of the 4 gods. And I entered that shit into a cosplay competition as my first cosplay. As I do these, I'll be posting pictures and whatnot, but yeah, so that was my first costume ever, and it was terrible, but I was so proud, and I was happy, and I was hooked. It wasn't until, I think 2019, I actually remade the costume, like with all my skills. Sadly, not as skinny as I used to be, but with way more skills and the ability to, you know, buy good wigs and whatnot. So here's a comparison of my first cosplay and the remake of it. It was always my goal to remake that costume, and I'm proud. The only thing I didn't make on that was the scroll. My friend who dressed up as Hotohori with me, she made it for me because I was running out of time, because I was also doing a competition piece for that during that con that I wore the remake of Miyaka. And yeah, I was still so proud of myself, and I remember being so proud, but looking back I'm just like, ooh, no. But you have to start somewhere, and it was really nice seeing like my progression between the original and the remake. All right, Question number 3. Have you ever been in a cosplay contest? Yes. Yes, I have. I've been in many. In fact, my first costume, like I just mentioned, I entered into the MegaCon big competition. But yeah, I have entered in cosplay competitions. I have won some. I have lost many. But it's how I ended up meeting some of the best friends I now have in my life. Was just standing in line and commiserating like how much our feet hurt together. But yeah, I suggest entering costume contests because you are almost guaranteed at least some photos, because there's always photographers taking pictures of it on stage, and you get to talk to people. Like, I know it's really competitive now and people get kind of like foo-foo about don't talk to me unless you're XYZ, but back then it was how a lot of us like made friends, and I wouldn't change it. And I still like competing. I'm a competitive person and I love being on stage. Do I like losing? No. Who likes losing? But I also learned like how to be a good sport about it, and I think that's kind of key, is you have to have a good mindset for it. But I absolutely love competing. Number 4, do you prefer sewing, armor making, or wig working? Sewing. I've only made a few armor pieces, and without the help of my friends, they would have sucked way harder than they already did. And wigs and me have a hate-hate relationship. Like, I will always wear a wig for my character, but I hate styling them. And it's not even just the styling them, it's the transporting of them, and then the storage afterwards, and then the maintenance afterwards. Because no matter how good I like take care of them, they are always a tangled mess by the end of the con. And I like cosplaying characters with long hair, and it's dealing with long wigs. Ugh. But yeah, sewing. I like sewing. I'm actually really good at sewing. Like, I'm a little out of practice right now, but that was always my forte, was like I was the sewer of our cosplay group. Number 5, do you prefer to do photo shoots at cons or specific locations? There's a kind of a challenge for both of these, because I always make costumes to go to cons mostly. I very rarely make a costume specifically for a photo shoot. Usually the photo shoots are because I already have the costume. And cons, you kind of already know that there's going to be people that are taking pictures, and you just have to scout really good locations to get like that. I'm taking these awesome photos at a con, but you can't tell that I'm at a con. So there's a kind of a challenge for that. But photo shoots, if organized properly, are a lot of fun, especially if you like, depending on if it's like a group photo shoot or even if it's a singular photo shoot. Like, I've done a little bit of all sorts of types, and they each have their own merit. But if I had to choose, I prefer doing photo shoots at specific locations, because then I kind of have it planned out and I am able to make sure that my costume of choice matches the location, or the location matches my costume of choice. Unlike a con, because you're not always guaranteed to find a good location for your costume. So yeah, I would say specific locations. Do I have any favorite cosplayers? Yeah, of course I have favorite cosplayers. My own friends, like, I love their work. I love when they create. When they create, it inspires me and pushes me to create. So they're, of my personal friends, I have technically Toki, Corin Cosplay, Blue Eyes Dante, Sepia Tone Carol, and then one of our photographer friends who cosplays too, Gapple Photos. She does a lot of really interesting and fun work. But those are my friends. So let me choose some non-friends. There's Amazon Mandy. I love like her progress works, and she does a lot of commissions too. So it's really nice seeing like those costumes come to life. I like Yaya Han. I like seeing what she does, and I've been a fan of hers for years, like years, before she even got like huge like she is now. And it's very interesting to see like her progression from just like a normal cosplayer to making it a completely her own brand. Like, it's inspiring. And she does make really good things, so I really like her. Oh, Amazon Mandy also likes to post pictures of her dog, Daisy, and it's really cute. It reminds me of my dearly beloved puppy that is unfortunately no longer with us, Lady. And yeah, I like seeing pictures of her dog. Maybe I'm a little biased, but no, she does do good work. So Amazon Mandy, I definitely would say, is a cosplayer that I look up to, and I really like their work. Number 7, what's the most detailed cosplay you have ever done? I have a couple, because again, I compete, and I usually compete with very elaborate costumes, but 2 of my most detailed costumes would be Amethyst from Sakizo, and then I also did Princess Serenity from Sailor Moon. I have 2 versions of her costume that I did. Like, I did it one way, and then after competing it in a costume contest, I realized there was a lot of things I wanted to redo on it, so I like pretty much redid the entire costume besides the base dress. Like, I even redid the wig. Unfortunately, I did a photo shoot for that, and I got back one kind of good photo. It was with a photographer that was having a lot of problems at the time, and she unfortunately like didn't give a lot of cosplayers their photos. So I don't have any photos of that costume really. It was part of an art museum exhibit here in Miami, and I might have a picture of that, so I'll have to look. If I do, it'll be posted here. But I completely like hand beaded, rhinestone, lace, handmade stuff. Like, oh, obviously my costumes are all handmade, but they were so detailed and so sparkly. And the Sakizu costume actually won me a PS4, which was really awesome. But yeah, I like doing, because I like to sew, and I really like doing those little fiddly bits, like hand beading and painting and whatnot. And I like to see it like go from nothing to something. I think that's what like inspires me, like with all those little details, and like you can hide things in the details so it creates a story and whatnot. But those would be my 2 most detailed costumes that like took a long time too. I think they took each about 6 months to make. 3 to 6 months on and off because of like how much work I put into them. All right, number 8. What are your top 3 craftsmanship tips? Okay. Well, measure twice, cut once. Like, make mock-ups. Make sure that like it's tailored properly beforehand. Before you start cutting into your good fabric. And I don't always follow my own advice, so take that with a grain of salt. But I have wasted some good fabric before because I didn't pattern it out properly, or I didn't make sure the fit was right, or something, or I accidentally cut it too small because I didn't measure something correctly, or I forgot to take like in consideration like once it was sewn, how was I going to put it on. So definitely measure, pattern out, do mock-ups, just to make sure you don't like waste. You may waste time, but at least you won't waste money. A second craftsmanship tip is always try and push yourself. Like, especially when I was first starting out, every time I made a new competition piece, I tried to do a new technique or something different than I had done before. Or I always tried to learn like a new skill. But yeah, always try and push yourself, because if not, it starts to get kind of repetitive and stagnant, and that's how you lose motivation to make and create. And that's kind of like outside of just like costuming, I think. That's kind of like with a lot of art stuff. And then a third tip would be give yourself enough time. I was always really good about making sure like I got things done in time. But then as I got older, it kept getting closer and closer and closer to like the con is tomorrow and you haven't finished. And that became very stressful. And I think that's where a lot of the fun started to leach out, was because I was no longer like enjoying it because I was so stressed out with a lot of like my making. So definitely like your time management. And if you don't get the costume done in time for a con, it's okay. There should be another con that you can go to, or there's next year. Definitely take care of your mental health with that so you don't burn yourself out. So I think those would be my 3 tips. Okay, question number 9. What is your favorite cosplay you have done? Oh man. I have many because they each have like their own stories that go along with them. Like I love all my Sailor Moon ones that I've done. Like I love creating, it's my favorite anime. It always was. It's what got me into anime. Oh man, that's a really hard question. My favorite cosplay. Like, okay, so I have many that are favorite because of their own things. Like I love making my Ariel costumes. I love my Vanessa costume because they have stories attached to them. But if I want to talk about like the most fun that I've had in my costumes, it would definitely be in Thor and Oakenshield. And particularly when we did the Barrel Dwarves, because we also did that in Dragon Con, in the parade with barrels, and everyone loved it, and it was a lot of fun. And it like I have so many good memories attached to that costume and that character. So I for this one I might have to say my Thorin is one of my favorites, only because of the memories that are attached to it. Yeah, so we might have to go with that one for now, unless I thought about it even harder, and there's a chance that I would probably like change my answer. Number 10. What is your worst cosplay horror story? Well, when I first started, I mean, I had issues with stalkers and stuff like that, and people being a little too friendly. But like, I always knew how to get myself out of those situations, so I wasn't like, it doesn't stick out in my head as like a horror story. Now, horror story. I think it's not really a horror story as in like, oh, something terrible happened in like near-death situation. But one of the memories that I have of like my worst cosplay experience, so we might change this one to like, what was your worst cosplay experience? Is I was in the middle of moving into our current house where I have my roommates and whatnot. And at the same time, I was trying to get my costumes done for MegaCon. And we were trying to put together this like big Super Sailor Scout group. And I was supposed to make Super Sailor Jupiter. And that costume fought me all the way to the end. Like, I was still sewing some parts at the con when we got there. Like, I had to attach the skirt still to the leotard. And I had missed a step where you put elastic in like the leg part to keep it from riding up. And as I would be like trying to walk, the skirt would just like ride up and just show off my entire ass. And I broke at that point. Like, I started crying. I ended up not wearing the costume at all. Like, I think I threw it away when I got home. I only have like a few bits and bobs that I kept, like my boots and like my tiara and whatnot. And it was just like the worst experience because I was already stressed out. I felt like I was like letting my friends down. I let myself down. It was one of my favorite characters, and it was a dream costume that I'd always wanted to be a Sailor Scout. And it was just an overall terrible experience. So even though it's not a horror story, like someone being attacked, it was like the worst feeling for me at the time. So I ended up like washing all my makeup off, and everyone else was out at the con. And because I had walked back to the hotel because I was wearing like the schoolgirl version for the beginning of the day. And then I was like, okay, for our photo shoots, I'll go change real quick. And then because all the makeup is still the same, I just need to put the costume on and the tiara on, and we'll continue on and I'll be back. And I took everything off. I washed my makeup off, and I took a nap. Like, I took like a 2.5 hour nap, and I got up and I felt better and continued on. And it was my meltdown moment of the con day weekend. And I didn't wear the costume, and I haven't even tried to make that costume again, even though I have new supplies. But yeah, I would say that was my worst cosplay experience, or worst horror experience. What's my funniest cosplay story? So my funniest cosplay story is actually a photo shoot I did with a friend. I was dressed up as Vanessa from The Little Mermaid. It's Ursula's human form. And we got up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to go to the beach to do a beach photo shoot. And I got some really awesome like pictures from that. And because she was testing out her new camera too. I think that's what it was. Like, I wanted pictures of, I had been wanting to do this particular photo shoot for a long time. She had just gotten a new camera, so it worked out. And one of the times I was trying to like sit pretty on one of the rocks while the waves like crashed up around me. And I don't know how, but one of the waves like either went right up my back, or it felt like it was trying to go up my butt, and it just splashed. And I'm just making like this face, and she captured it on camera. Yeah, that was funny. There was another time like I was in the waves and I was doing this like, oh, I'm a mermaid rising up. Well, not mermaid, but I'm the sea witch rising up from the sea, and blah, 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 blah. And I get my ass knocked over by a wave. Like, 'cause the waves were really big that day. And she captured that picture too of me like getting up, and I'm just like laughing. And because I sometimes hate my smile. And I've gotten more self-conscious of it as I got older. And yeah, she just managed to capture just like that free, open, non-self-conscious smile and laugh. And it was a blast. And I love the photos I got from that, including the funny, derpy ones. It also kind of taught me not to take myself so seriously, because there's always something waiting to smack you down when you're trying to be serious. And it was fun. It was a really fun morning. And then we showered, went back to her house, and then got ready for a Renaissance fair, which was fun. I dressed up as Sansa or something, I think, for the Renaissance fair. But it was a fun day, and I got some really fun photos. And it's probably one of my funniest memories because of getting knocked over by some waves. Number 12. What is your favorite cosplay photo of yourself? I have a few. I have my Thorin ones. I have a bunch of photo shoots from Beth where I did Juvia. She also did one of my Sailor Moon or Princess Serenity when I did the first version of the costume. She did those photos. What else? I have a lot. I have a lot of like favorite cosplay photos of myself because my friends are cosplayers too, so they want good photos of their costumes. So when you ask for photos for yours, they do their best to make you look good as well. The
AC just kicked on. Oh well. So sorry about the audio.
But yeah, I have a lot of favorite cosplay photos. So I think I'm just gonna post a bunch of them, and we'll go from there because I can't choose. I've been cosplaying since 2004. I have a lot of photos that I like, and as people got better equipment and was taking better photos, and the phones got better for taking photos, like my photos kept getting better, and I was making better costumes and learning how to pose and doing my makeup. So I have a lot of photos that I like. So there's that answer. Do you prefer to buy pre-styled wigs or style my own? No matter how much I hate wigs, I like to style them on my own. It's a pretty simple question. I like to style them on my own. Even though I hate it. Because pre-styled wigs don't always fit my head, because I have a big freaking head and a lot of hair, so yeah, I'll style my own. That way, again, I also compete, so by styling my own, that counts as part of making it, and it just looks really good when you're competing, so. Number 14, have you ever had someone mistake you for a different character? Yeah. Funny story, I like to cosplay Hakufu from Ikitosen, and you wouldn't believe how many times I kept getting called Orihime from Bleach, because they have the same color hair and they have the same like gray skirt. Or no, Hakufu didn't even have a gray skirt. It was just the yellow top. Yeah. So I cosplayed as Hakufu, and I kept getting called Orihime. So I made Orihime. I wonder if I have any photos of that one. I'll have to take, maybe I have photos of that one, because there was a period of time, like, well, a lot of my fun costumes I didn't really try and get a lot of photos of. So there's not much evidence. But yeah, Hakufu always got called Orihime. So in response to that, I made Orihime. Number 15, what's the biggest con you have ever cosplayed at? Dragon Con. Yep, Dragon Con. Before that, it was like MegaCon or OhioCon, because I actually flew out to go to OhioCon. And MegaCon used to be the biggest that I went to, but then I went to Dragon Con, which is like 4 or 5 now hotels in downtown Atlanta, Georgia, plus a parade. And yeah, that's pretty much the biggest con I've gone to, and it's a lot of fun, or it used to be a lot of fun, like when we first started going, and then it started getting more and more crowded, and then there were some incidents at the hotels that just like weren't fun, and they were actually kind of dangerous, and so I stopped going. But who knows, I might start going again now that, you know, with COVID. But it's expensive. It's expensive to go, because the hotel is expensive, food is expensive, travel is expensive. It's expensive, but a lot of fun, or it was a lot of fun. Number 16, have you ever bought a cosplay piece at a con? Yes, but never for a costume I was wearing for that con. I know my friends have bought wigs for characters they were wearing at the con that they were at, but me personally, I have never bought a piece that I needed for that weekend, because I never like to rely on like, oh, I'll just buy that. Like, I think my hair clips for Orihime I bought at a con before, but it was always like, it'd always be like small pieces or wigs for like future projects. But yeah, I have bought, but never for a character for that day. Number 17, do you prefer to cosplay solo or in a group? That's kind of hard. Because I usually like to make obscure costumes from more obscure series, and it's hard to get other people on that bandwagon. Or I like to do a lot of like romance shoujo characters, and again, it's sometimes hard to get people on that bandwagon. But cosplaying in a group not only just feels more impressive when you're walking through the con, but doing photo shoots together, and then like when you're building the costume, you have people to talk to about it, and like making sure things are coordinated. So each have their own challenges, but at the end of the day, I have to say I prefer cosplaying in a group, even with the stress of organization and coordinating and whatnot. And sometimes you just get really frustrated with each other. It's still fun, especially when you're competing, because then you're on stage as a whole group, and again, it looks very impressive and whatnot. So it kind of just depends. Like, I like cosplaying characters that I like, but if there's a group happening and I'm invited to it, I'll usually join in. I'll find a character I'll want to cosplay. And yeah. So yeah, I think for this question, I'm going to go with groups. I like cosplaying in groups with people. Number 18, have I ever done a cosplay panel? Yeah. I've done Cosplay 101 panels, I've done craftsmanship panels, I've done like what to expect when being judged panels, because I have been a judge before for costume competitions. But yeah, I've done cosplay ones. I've never done workshop style. It's usually just talking and chatting, like Q&As, but I've done them. It's been a while, but I have done them. Number 19, do you prefer to buy or make your costumes? So I was always of the mindset of you have to make your own costume. You got to make it, or at least for me. I wasn't caring about like what other people did, and because it's their money and their time. But even if it was just a simple character, I had to make it no matter what. As I've gotten older and realized that for simple costumes that I'm not competing, it's okay to buy some. Like, I bought Hinata because it was for like a fun barbecue photo shoot, and I didn't have time to really like make something for it. I didn't want to make it or wait. Like, sometimes it costs more to buy the fabric and make it yourself than it is just to buy it off like Amazon or a cosplay website. So I bought it. Spoiler alert, the world did not end. If it's a competition that I'm making a costume for, I'll always just make it. But I prefer to make, even though buying's not a problem. Number 20, what is my ultimate dream cosplay? I would love to get a full group. Like, I don't even care what series, but like Fushiyugi, Sailor Moon. Anytime I've ever joined groups like that, we're always missing like one character or two characters, or someone drops out at the end, or they can't make a photo shoot. But my dream cosplay is to have like a full cast and do like a really good, high quality photo shoot together. Probably Fushiyugi, because it's or Sailor Moon, either of those, because they're my loves. But that, I think, would be my dream. Like, even when we did the dwarves, we were still missing a lot of the dwarves, even though we would run into other cosplayers. It was never our group, but we would take pictures together. But I think that would probably be like my ultimate dream, is having like a full cast of characters. Yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. Number 21. What's the most difficult character makeup I have done? Oh, I would have to say there's two. My Thorn makeup, because I have to take this lovely face and turn it into a bearded dwarf, or my Bubblehead Nurse, which is a mask for the face part, but then like there's the arms and like everything underneath is all makeup, and making that mask was not easy, and it's not easy to breathe in, and it was a complicated piece to wear. But those would probably be my two, I would say, two most complicated makeups. A lot of my other characters, the makeup is not extreme. Like, it's still wear makeup and whatnot, but yeah, I would say those two would be my two of my most difficult character makeups I've worn and done. Number 22. What's the most difficult cosplay I have ever done? Craftsmanship, wearing of, etc., etc. Okay. So I've done a lot of complicated pieces before. I've done some from Magi. I've done the Sailor Moon ones. I've done the dwarves. But one of the most ones that was also difficult to wear would be Jibril from Angel Sanctuary, which I have two versions of her because I had to remake the wings at one point, which is another disaster story where one of my wings broke right before competition, and then we had to like repair it in the hotel room. That was another story. But she was one of the most difficult ones to wear. Plus, she was also big because I did like giant ass wings, which I did get a nice photo shoot for. So those are the pictures I'm going to be showing with Wings 2.0. But yeah, she would probably be the most, because the con area itself was also on the smaller side. So getting around, I'd have to like fold the wings around me, and she looked impressive, but she was a bitch to wear. Like, ugh. She was rough to wear. I don't even think I have the wings anymore. I think eventually I stored them away, and they just got messed up, and I tossed them. And I still have the costume. I know that much. Because the costume I could easily turn into like a Renaissance dress for like the Ren Fair, but she would be probably the most difficult ones wearing wise that I've done. All right, number 23, my most recent cosplay. Honestly, it's been a year and a half since I cosplayed, so I don't remember exactly which one is the most recent, but I know the last competition one I used was the Peacock Dress Emerald. That was by, it was an artist. Crap, brain fart. I'll post her Instagram here. It wasn't Shutterfly. It was like no, it wasn't No Flutters. It was another artist. But she did all these redesigns of like the Sailor Scouts and the villains and whatnot in like different Asian type dresses. And I did emeralds, and it was a lot of fun. And yeah, I think that was one of the last like big pieces I made. I know I did like the puppets. I did the husky for a variety show that I was a part of. But I think, yeah, Emerald might have been like, oh no. Okay, besides Emerald is Toru from Fruits Basket. I wore that to MetroCon because I think that was the last big con that I wasn't working at that I wore things at. So I made the Emerald dress, which I competed with. I made Toru from Fruits Basket because she was always a dream of mine. And then that's where I also wore the Miyaka costume that I remade. So I wore those 3 costumes, and those were the last 3 major ones that I worked on that I remember. Yes. See, eventually I'll remember these things. Number 24. What is my least favorite thing about cosplay? The cattiness and like the shit talking. It used to not be so bad. Well, maybe it was. I just didn't know about it. But like the drama for certain competitions was really bad, and I think it got worse as like supplies became more available and cosplaying became more mainstream. I sound so old by saying it like this, but like people stopped doing it for fun. Like even when I competed, I always did it for fun, and I always did characters that I really wanted to do. But now it's more for clout. And it's really nice to see that cosplay is mainstream, because then, you know, there's more supplies, there's more fabrics, there's more patterns, there's more tutorials, and that information sharing is a lot of fun. But then some people will be like, I can't tell you how I made this because it's top secret. Bleh. And they gatekeep. I think that's the worst part about cosplaying, especially nowadays, is that there was a lot of gatekeeping. Or if you didn't have a certain amount of likes or subscriptions on like your social media, you weren't considered a good cosplayer. And that's where they based a lot of their like judges and guests. So they'd get someone that had like a lot of followers, but maybe they didn't make their costumes, or it got to be kind of a mess for a while there. I think that's what I hate, is that there's also a lot of really good cosplayers out there that don't get the recognition because maybe they don't have social media, or they don't like post a lot or whatnot, but they don't get that recognition. And yeah, I think those would be the things that I don't like about cosplay sometimes. Will it make me stop cosplay? Nah, not at all, but it's something that I feel needs to change. Number 25, have I ever won any cosplay awards? Yeah. I've won judges awards before. I've won, the only thing I never won was like best novice, because when I started competing with my friend Val, they bumped us up straight to journeyman, and we won best journeyman group at the con that we competed at with our Angel Sanctuary costumes. I was Rosiel and she was Alexiel. Here's some old photos. Ooh, that's I think back circa 2007, maybe 2008. But yeah, I've won honorable mentions, I've won judges awards, I've won best in show, I've won best masters, I've won best group before with my friends. But yeah, I've won awards, and it's always fun. Like, I like awards, I like recognition, I like the spotlight, but it is what it is. It's okay to like those things. 26. Have you worn cosplay in a regular situation? Like never on a date or anything, because that'd be weird. But I have worn cosplay to work before. I used to work for GameStop, so anytime like I had a costume that would align with like a game being released, I may wear bits and pieces. Like I know I wore Black Cat, like not the full thing. I wore like a Black Cat shirt and like my pants and whatnot, but I did the wig and makeup and the mask. I wore Black Cat before. My very last day when I was working at Staples happened to be on Halloween, and I got permission to wear a costume, and I went in full Thorin get up. So I've worn cosplay to work before. And I've worn, like, for Halloween costumes, I've worn cosplay, which I guess would be a regular situation. But Halloween's kind of like, it's okay. Especially back before, like, cosplay became cool. Like, Halloween was that day that it was okay to run around in costume. But I'd have to say those times that I wore cosplay at work. But there was a reason. It wasn't me just, like, randomly showing up going, hey, I'm in cosplay. Deal with it. Because that'd be just weird. 27. Where do you work on your cosplays and where do you store them when you're done? So you've seen my other videos before. I have a really tiny shed in my backyard that has electricity and I work on my costumes there. It's currently a mess, even though I cleaned it and there was a video of me cleaning it. It's gotten kind of messy and I need to reorganize it again, especially before I start working on any new projects. But yeah, I mean, it's small. I don't have a lot of space there to work. I have enough space for me to work, but that's pretty much where I work on most of my costumes. Or we'll like meet up at a friend's house that has like a big space, like a big living room or whatnot. And I've worked there before. But most of the time of recent years, it's in my little workroom. Now, as for storing them, I have them in boxes depending on how big the costume is and with all the accessories just to keep it organized. I've started slowly transitioning them to garment bags where I can also store like their wigs with it and their accessories. But the garment bags I use aren't necessarily really cheap because I need them to like withstand like moving and travel and whatnot. But I've been slowly trying to transition my more recent costumes into those, the ones that I plan on continuing to wear. As for wigs, most of the time I'll like comb them out and wash them and put them back in their bags unless they're like heavily styled wigs, like my Sailor Moon ones or whatnot. And then those ones I kind of just keep on the wig heads, and I have a little area in my workroom where I just kind of like put them in a corner. It's not the best way because I don't have like really good shelves to put them on, but it's what I have for now. So they either get put away or they get hung up. That's how I store a lot of my costumes. And that's also probably why I don't do huge like prop pieces, because I know where to put them afterwards. Like I have some props and whatnot, but nothing like huge. I think the wings were some of the biggest pieces I made and I don't even have those anymore. Number 28, something you want to improve on for future cosplays. I want to actually learn how to do armor and like proper weapon work and like LED lights and all those cool things that the cool kids do. I would love to make something. I kind of want to do like a League of Legends character just because they have a lot of props and like armor bits, but some of the characters don't have such huge armor bits that I think it would be overwhelming. So I would actually like to learn like armor making and like weapon making and stuff like that. That's always been kind of a dream. 29, any unfinished costumes and will I ever finish them? Well, there's Super Sailor Jupiter that I've slowly been like collecting supplies for. And then I did start a new Sakizo costume, or at least started like working on pieces of it. Then COVID like got really strong, because this is when I started it when we thought we were only going to be out of work for like 2 weeks, and then it became even longer. But at the time I still thought MetroCon was going to happen in 2020. So I have that one. Will I finish that one? Yeah, I definitely want to finish that. I haven't really started, but yeah, I want to finish that one. I will do Super Sailor Jupiter at some point, or at least another version of Jupiter, even though Super Sailor is my favorite because I really like the long bows on their butts. Or Eternal. Eternal's cute too. So I think those are the two that I have that are unfinished, but I would want to complete them. I also have some fabric for Deedlit from Record of Lotus War. Will I ever make her? I don't know. But she does have armor, so maybe that's where I can also try learning some armor skills. We'll see. And number 30, the dream cosplay that will never happen. I don't know. Like, why did I choose that question? Dream costume that will never happen. I would say something like JoJo, because I'll never be that bendy or skinny. But I don't think it was ever a dream costume. It was more of just to do it with a group. I don't know. Maybe something with like full body paint. Like one of the Titans from Attack on Titan. Because like I don't think I would ever do something like that. Maybe a Clamp character? There's a couple of Clamp characters that I don't think I would ever get around to doing. But I don't know, because usually when I do characters, like, I do them. And there's probably a lot that are, like, on my to-do list, like Zelda. But I can't say for certain that they would never happen, because you never know what's gonna happen. I don't know. I don't know. So that's that. I'm going to leave that one as just like a giant big question mark. Because it's really hard to say that they'll never happen, because you never know. They just might. But that's it. That was 30 questions. Cosplay Tag, get to know me. I hope you enjoyed it. This is probably going to be a really pain in the butt to edit, but that's okay. I do it for the clout. Actually, no, I just like to talk. And I like giving myself things to edit. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Please, if I will leave the questions below, feel free to answer as many or as few as you want. Just tag me. I have my Twitter, I have my Instagram, I have the YouTube. Like and subscribe to get more videos. And I'm actually really motivated now to start working on some new projects. So hopefully there'll be some progress videos in the near future. I will see you guys later. Have a good day. Bye.